I would now like to invite Professor Chandrakala Padia. Professor Padia is Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Belarus Hindu University. She is also the Director, Center for Integrated Rural Development, BHU, and Director, Benares Chapter, Bertrand Russell Society, America, and also coordinator of the Working Group on Women and the Family of the International Forum for India's Heritage. And she will be speaking on Sister Nivedita as she saw her master. Please.
Thank you, Madam. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers and also the ICPR for giving me this opportunity to be here and to bash in the divinity of this place, since I have been attending so many seminars and conferences throughout, but never I had experienced the serenity, the divinity which I could feel here. So I am very thankful to you, Professor Chakravarti, for giving me this opportunity. Once at Ramakrishna Mission in Benares, they invited me to speak on Ma Sharda, and they gave me an opportunity to learn about Ma Sharda, to read about her, and I was privileged to speak on Ma Sharda. And today you all have given me an opportunity to speak on Sister Nivedita, though I have been reading her a lot, but still, when I was to come here, I tried to read this book several times, and I must say, I felt as if Sister Nivedita has the capacity to pierce through the heart, mind and soul of Swami Vivekananda. The way she could understand him is really remarkable, because I have added some of my PhDs on Vivekananda, and at that time I couldn't understand Vivekananda as much I could understand Vivekananda through her eyes. And I felt as if, I would just like to make an analogy, I felt as if, that the knowledge is flowing from the Himalaya where Vivekananda is sitting, and Sister Nivedita could pour all that knowledge in a kamandal. Just like that, that analogy came to me. So I am really, really very privileged to read her. Her receptivity is so high as she could understand Vivekananda through and through. And because nothing for her was so sublimely nurturing as the divine law, as the divine love of Swami Vivekananda. Who can portray Swami Vivekananda as she could do when she said, I would like to quote, one sees him in Buddha-like calm, once more in a modern world is heard through his lips the voice of the far past, but renunciation, the thirst after freedom, the breaking of the bondage, the fire of purity, the joy of the witness, the emergence of the personal in the impersonal, these alone had been the themes of that discourse. It was the personality, it was the personality of my master himself. All the fruitless torture and struggle of a lion caught in a net. Far from the day that he met me at the ship's side, till that last serene moment, when at the hour of the cow dust, he passed out of the village of this world, leaving the body behind him like a folded garment, I was always conscious of this element interwoven with other in his life. Unquote. So beautifully she has described her master. The question before me is, why could Sister Nivedita understand his master so well? And here I would like to draw upon some of the researches which have been made. My first thing is, she could understand Swami Vivekananda so well because she was a woman. I say because she was a woman. Why I say so? In some of the fundamental researches in the modern times by Joan Toronto and Carol Gilligan, they have made a point. She is a psychiatrist, Carol Gilligan, and she has made an experiment with 100 American men and 100 American women. On American citizens, what to say of the Indian citizens, and she has used the most sophisticated tools. And out of her research, she comes to the conclusion that women, they have a natural power of understanding the particularity, of understanding the context. You know, as a mother does with the children. I think you all must have faced a point, you know, if you are two brothers and the younger brother demands something and which is not demanded by the elder brother, the father will immediately say, why should I give it to you? Because I haven't given it to the elder brother. But the mother will come and say, stop, let him go, let him go. And then she knows, you know, you will always, then she knows how to deal with the second child. Because she knows the particular nature of that child. So she is blessed with that. This is, so many researches were already there, but I am telling of the recent research by Carol Gilligan. And she very beautifully says that our entire theme of justice should be replaced by an ethic of care. She says that contemporary theories of justice, they lack in it, and they must be replaced by an ethic of care. What I am trying to say, because she was a woman, she could understand many threads of Vivekananda's philosophy and personality, probably which only a man of transcendence can understand. And third, I say, because Swamiji took his stand on what was noblest and best in us. He always treated everyone with utmost dignity, with utmost respect, you know, and that is how also it enabled Sister Nivedita to understand him better. With these words, I would just like to elucidate upon in what ways Sister Nivedita understood his master. Since yesterday I have been listening, such words of wisdom, everything is very clear. There is nothing which I am going to add, you know, but I would just like to say what Sister Nivedita thought of Swami Vivekananda. She could see in him the confluence of East and West. Very beautifully she has explained that. The relationship between renunciation and karma, that also she has explained. And also the final goal with that of, no, and also the final goal of, and also patriotism with that of global citizenship. So these three things, you know, she has explained in her writings very well. Let me start with the time between renunciation and karma. In her words, I quote, he stood for work without attachment, or work for impersonal ends, as one of the highest expressions of the religious life. Sister Nivedita questions, has anyone realized the pain endured by the structure of a new ideal? She says that it is very easy to live with already spoken ideals, with already realized ideals, but it is very difficult to carve a new path. And my master was always tortured and tormented by those new thoughts, and he has the courage to take the lead. She writes, the Hindu ideal of the religious life as a reflection on earth of that of the great God in the divine, empyrean, the unmoving, the untouched, pure, free, ever the witness, is so clear and so deeply established that only at great cost to himself could a man carry it into a fresh channel. Unquote. And there he explains that how Vivekananda made religion a vehicle of, not only a vehicle of self-transcendence, but also a vehicle of serving the humanity. And she quotes several examples that how Vivekananda nurtured his own fellow friend, how he went to Allahabad to nurture him, how he sucked, from the lepers just to give them the relief. And she has given all those incidents very beautifully, and that is why, just like Gandhiji, Vivekananda also felt that the concept, he revitalized, or you can say re-invoked the spirit of Daridra Narayan, that how the Narayan lives in Daridra, and that is the greatest contribution of Ramakrishna mission. Whereas in India, so many mutts and others, they are deeply involved with rituals. with rituals for the attainment of God. It is this mission, In Benares when we go, there is nowhere a mission like that where the patients are being served with such humility, with such devotion, with such dedication. So this is because this is the message of Ramakrishna Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda, which Sister Nivedita could feel. And she feels that this is a new dimension which Swami Vivekananda gave to the religious life, to the meaning of religion. She says, I quote, he preached mukti instead of heaven, enlightenment instead of salvation, the realization of the immanent unity, Brahma instead of God, the truth of all faiths instead of the binding force of anyone, unquote. And the question is, how could he do that? And that also, Sister Nivedita, the methodology with Swami Vivekananda employed, that also she categorically makes it very clear. She says this requires the sensitiveness and delicacy of perception to bear the terror of responsibility. See the words what she uses, terror of responsibility. Even the hardest of those lives are understood and authenticated by the imitative moral sense of the crowd. Most of us are imitators. We just want to sail with the crowd. There are very few people. I am reminded of Prof, the great political philosopher and psychologist. He said about Bertrand Russell what can be repeated about Swami Vivekananda. He says there are two kinds of people, priest and prophet. Prophets are those who lay down the path. Priests are those who follow that path. And he said for Bertrand Russell that he is one of the prophets. The same thing we see here, Swami Vivekananda is a prophet, who came out with certain vision and who really gave a new interpretation to the whole idea of religion in the context of his own times, in the context of his own country, in the context of India's struggle for freedom. Vivekananda, she says, believed that force spent in mere emotion was dissipated. Only force restrained being conserved for expression in work. So the kind of difference which she could see in Swami Vivekananda, it's not the mere emotion. The force, it is just like the fire. You can use the fire for creating an industry and you can use the fire for burning out something. But that force is required. Vivekananda always accepted the importance of that force. That force is very necessary. The only question is how we channelize it, how we use it. Sister Nivedita says, what was renunciation for my master? The definition, the new definition of renunciation. She says, he will recognize a mood of passionate longing to lose one's own identity, to be united with the lowliest and most hidden things, to go forth from amongst men and be no more remembered by them, as an element in the impulse of renunciation. That is renunciation. Bhagavad Gita has already preached it, but the way Sister Nivedita explains it is so beautiful. This is the reason Vivekananda sent out monks from the monastery to give relief in famine-stricken areas, as we all know, to direct the sanitation of a town, or to nurse the sick and dying at the pilgrim center. When one man started, I still remember what Sister Nivedita writes, when one man started an orphanage and industrial school at Mushirabad, he said, these were the sappers and miners of the army of religion. These were the sappers and miners of the army of religion. See, just because she was so close by, she could hear so many things from the lips of her master. So this is the renunciation, this is the meaning of renunciation in Swami Vivekananda. Then she also delves deep into what Swami Vivekananda meant by religion. She writes so many passages in her book She says Swami's understanding of religion is worth following by not only by every citizen of India, but by every citizen of the world. She says, for Swamiji, religion is not in doctrines. Religion lies in being and becoming. In being and becoming, in realization. All men are born idolaters. The lowest man is an animal. The highest man is perfect. And between these two, all have to think in sound and color, in doctrine and ritual. Unquote. And that is why yesterday Swamiji has very well explained that what is his understanding of Maya. So beautifully, it is an eye-opener for me. Swamiji's understanding of Maya itself is an eye-opener. Swamiji says, because we talk in vain, because we are satisfied with the things of the senses, and because we are running after desires, therefore we, as it were, cover the reality with a mist. Maya is that simmering, elusive, half real, half unreal complexity in which there is no rest, no satisfaction, no ultimate certainty, of which we become aware through senses and through the mind as dependent on the senses. So it was Vivekananda, like many others, that how we can enter into the realm of the spirit and what is the importance of the Atman. I think Swami Vivekananda, according to Sister Nivedita, could understand the unity of all the religions, and in a much, much better way, simpler way, as is crystal clear even to a common man. Sorry, I have caught your disease. Okay. She says, Swamiji said, I have a superstition. It is nothing, but a personal superstition, that the same soul who came once as Buddha came afterwards as Christ. These are the lines which Swami Vivekananda said to Sister Nivedita. So he says, it is my personal superstition. Just imagine, how could he think about all those people who are the realized soul. And that is why there was no difference for Swamiji between the Indian and the Western disciples. Sister Nivedita claims it. Now I will try to discuss that how for Swamiji, the character building, that was the message for every one of us. That is only going to help the nation, that is going to help us in self-realization. What the world wants is character. I quote, the world is in need of those whose life is one burning love, selfless. The love will make every word tell like a thunderbolt. Awake, awake, great souls, the world is burning in misery, can you sleep? Unquote. So for Swamiji, it was, as yesterday, when someone was discussing about his theme of education, how character building is the greatest notion, is the greatest virtue which all of us should possess. Besides all these things, what is very, very important in Swami Vivekananda, that he was a great patriot. In spite of the fact that he has love for all religions, he has love for all citizens, but he was a great patriot, and he always wanted that India should be freed from the yoke of British rule. Why? Because here comes the role of Swaraj and Swadharma. What is this Swadharma and Swaraj? Because every one of us, because he was aware of India's rich past, cultural heritage, and the realm of spirit where every Indian could bash. And that is why Swami Vivekananda never wanted that Mother India should be free from the British yoke. And that is why he was such a great patriot that she writes, Sister Nivedita writes beautifully about him. She says, I quote, just as Sri Ramakrishna, in fact, without knowing any books, had been a living epitome of the Vedanta, so was Vivekananda of the national life. Unquote. So this is the comment which Sister Nivedita tells about him. Vivekananda was one of those persons who knew through and through the importance of the grief. I have heard about the importance of grief from the mouth of Kunti and many others, But the way Vivekananda has explained it is really something astonishing. Whenever he used to talk of grief, Sister Nivedita says, and she used to quote that Swami Vivekananda always used to quote, the lion, when stricken to the heart, gives out his mightiest roar. When smitten on the head, the cobra lifts its hood. And majesty of the soul comes forth only when a man is wounded to his depths. Unquote. See, just imagine the way it has been explained, and this was a very favorite quote of Swami Vivekananda, which he always used to say to Sister Nivedita, that how in the times of grief one can realize one's true self. And last but not the least, just like Bhagavad Gita, Swami Vivekananda always put emphasis on the purity of intentions. Because what is important is the purity of intentions. We can be very sweet to someone, but our intentions are not good. So what are our intentions? And that is why Sister Nivedita says about Swami Vivekananda, he wanted to build the temple of faith, not with intellect, powers of attraction or volume of force, but with the brick of simple sincerity. Unquote. In this way you will find whether it is the question of God, whether it is the question of Maya, whether it is the meaning of religion, whether it is patriotism, whether it is nation building. I personally feel Sister Nivedita could understand her master very well, and because of that only, because when the words come from the lips of realized soul, then only you are influenced, and then only that is translated into action. I can say so many things, it won't have any impact. But when Gandhiji, Swami Vivekananda or Aurobindo said so, people are drawn towards them. And this is the reason that because of this charismatic personality, because of being a realized soul, Sister Nivedita came along with his master to India, and the way she served, I fully agree with you, Swamiji, that not much work has been done on Sister Nivedita, because she actually carried the work of Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and lot of work is yet to be needed, and she could simplify many of those things which were not that clear to us. Maybe her language may be difficult, but the book which I have read, the master as I saw him, in this book she has made all those points very clear, and I think she has made a distinct contribution to India's intellectual tradition. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Professor Padia, for this beautiful discussion, analysis of Sister Nivedita's saying about her master. And I must invite questions, discussions, please.
I sincerely thank both the presentation Mataji and Professor Padia for giving the detailed picture of contribution of Nivedita. As a student of philosophy, I think it is very significant because we have a very long history in our country also where masters' teachings are understood and again put before people and imparted and communicated. We have a style of Vrittivartika, and when I was listening to these two presentations, and revered Swamiji also said that much is to be written about Nivedita. This is just a suggestion I am putting forth. This can be a commentary, and this is not just looking at Swamiji and reaching the message of Swamiji to the people, but it is like reconstructing the message. And my further suggestion is that further study on Nivedita's writings also would be another reconstruction, because reconstructing philosophy is necessary in the light of present situations, and that is not just carrying forward the message or reinterpreting. For example, the conversation which took place regarding art and the contribution to art, very little is known about that. She has to say something about Indian art. Another important thing is that we are still not out of that colonial mindset. After independence also, we think that a certificate coming from Europe or certificate coming from Western world means something significant to us. Not really a very good thing, but still that is the mindset. Now, against this backdrop, a lady who has totally become one with philosophy of Advaita, and she is not only following the tradition, but she is trying to look at the tradition and trying to construct the tradition. And that's why I said that I am reminded of our own tradition, where Shankar Bhashya is commented upon. It's the teacher's message which is taken further. For that matter, I've not studied, but this can be really worked out if Bhagini Nivedita's, in Maharashtra we call her Bhagini Nivedita, Sister Nivedita. So Bhagini Nivedita is studied in Maharashtra also. There are quite a few books in Marathi on contribution of Bhagini Nivedita. So the way she is looking at the Indian mindset, the way she is trying to inspire Indian mindset, and the way she is trying to synthesize Swamiji's philosophy of Vedanta, which is for the entire universe, but also which includes his own country, his own nation. This is something which will be really very useful for the youth. And therefore my suggestion is that it's not just the work of gathering her thoughts and putting it before, but relooking or rather reconstructing in the context of present to inspire youth as how Vivekananda can be really interpreted in different dimensions. And that actually is the greatness of a visionary. And a visionary who has philosophy of Advaita Vedanta as its foundation, and which has n number of dimensions and n number of interpretations. And Indians have been doing this. And that's what exactly Swamiji also said, that the legacy of our motherland will guide the world, because it is Advaita which is interpreted and reinterpreted and structured and restructured. Thank you very much, both of you, for giving a very thought-provoking presentation. Thank you.
Professor Padia, why Ullewell Swamiji, why Sister Niveta, you think she drifted towards the national movement, knowing fully well Swamiji's ideas. And he made very clear the thing, but somewhere, some point, she drifted towards the national movement. Why is it so, in your opinion?
In my opinion, because Swamiji himself directed her, he said that you must serve India, you must open the school for the women, you must serve the marginalized section of the society, which she has written in this book very clearly. And that was a message given by Swamiji. And she found herself so much attached, to the people of India that she wanted to work for them. She wanted to struggle for India's freedom. That was a clear message given by the Swamiji. And she was a follower of Swamiji.
But that's true. If you see, she drifted away into the national movement, inspired of some Aurobindo Ghosh, or even some of the prominent leaders and all the others. So how that drift has come, why it has come, and how do you substantiate that?
I personally feel because for Swami Vivekananda, this national freedom was not...
His mind is very clear. His mind is very clear, as we understand very well. And even somebody was asked Swamiji after debate, his mind very, very clear towards the freedom and all the other things. Freedom is given. Are you ready to receive that freedom? That's what he asked. So from that context, there is no doubt about that one. But my question or query towards to you is that why is Sister Viveka knowing fully well of Swamiji's ideas towards this freedom movement, but still she is slightly drifted into the national movement by supporting some of these national freedom movement? Why is it so?
I suppose...
I'm trying to suggest that it was because of her own historical background that she had been influenced by what she had seen in Ireland. The Irish also had to fight for their freedom, and they were freedom fight. The ways that freedom fighters won the freedom in Ireland, her grandfather was involved in that, and probably to some extent, though he was a religious man. But I'm sure that influenced her very much. Oh, sorry. I'm sure that influenced her very much, her own past. And so she saw that nothing could be accomplished unless India won her freedom first. So she was not willing to wait for any evolution or into transition, which Swamiji suggested. That first people build their character and become strong and united, but she couldn't wait. She was too passionate a soul to have that attitude. She wanted to see some results just then. And if India hadn't won a freedom, then nothing could be accomplished in the rejuvenation of what really Swamiji envisioned for India. She felt first freedom. I'm sure because of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for him. And let's say that perhaps we believe that it's the best justice to Swami Vivekananda than any one of us till today have done. The reason is this, that Vivekananda always insisted that he should be taken as presenting to us and inspiring us to reinduct ourselves into our own tradition. But whenever we study Vivekananda, we just do not do that. Vivekananda was Vivekananda, who is an integral part of whatever was happening at that time. At that time, 4 different reform movements were going on there. And Sister Nivedita, not only because she was inspired by Swami Vivekananda, she was mixed with many peoples of the society. And she was deeply aware that these are the systems, reform movements they were taking on. And therefore, she would see Vivekananda in the context of all these reform movements, which we today do not do. Similarly, I can give one or two concrete examples what happened, you know. That when you speak about Swami Vivekananda and his rather taking Vishishta Dvaita, Advaita as different stages, hierarchically arranged different stages, we never refer it back to the same thing happening in India for a long time. Though Vivekananda was very clear that these have been there all through from the 14th century. There are many books where all these things have been written and discussed at a great detail. But we never rather situate Swami Vivekananda in that way. And that is one of the reasons why I think that we are perhaps not doing real justice to Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda is to be understood with reference to the tradition before him and also the contemporary tradition. But we do not always relate it to that. But Sister Nivedita did the greatest service to see deep look at Vivekananda and his contribution in the whole context of the movements that are going on there. One is nationalist movement, the other is education reform movement, the third is religious reform movement, and the fourth was, of course, he was not deliberately associated with it, but Rabindranath Tagore had listed these four. That fourth was the literary reform movement. Now, Vivekananda, if we look at him, that he had something to say to all this, but we take Vivekananda as rather in isolation. Nivedita did not do it, so I think Nivedita did the right thing. And she could not be drifted, but he was not drifted actually. He wanted to see Vivekananda also in the context of the national movement. That's the point.
You see, because my feeling was I saw Vivekananda at much higher pedestal and all the others.
It is not
I felt probably for him the national movement is of second priority, may not be a primary priority at all the others. So in that context.
The answer to that, if that higher pedestal, if we look at that, then I think Sri Ramakrishna or Sri Aurobindo were the higher. For the simple reason, they never, though Aurobindo was deeply involved in this national movement, yet when he became a recluse, he never took any notice of who he was living at that time. That when the great massacre was taking place, and his disciples were asking, Sri Aurobindo, why you are not taking interest in it? The reason was this, they were completely in a higher level. So there, if that is their case, because he was at a higher level, so he disregarded this national education movement, then he would have also disregarded that social service, which exactly was the point of debate between Sri Aurobindo, Krishna Prem, Vijaya Krishna Goswami at this time.
I agree, Mr. Professor Mukherjee, what he has told. Mukherjee, I'm sorry. So many movements are going on, and we have to see Nivedita's role and Vivekananda's role in the perspective of those movements that were going on, and Nivedita was working at that time with this one. I also subscribe to the view of Mr. Murthy that Swami Vivekananda is a very, very high pedestal. He was a multifaceted personality, and he worked through various channels. One of the channels through which he worked was Nivedita for national development, and he chose many other channels for various other works. This is the thing. Now, as far as the presentation is concerned, it was a wonderful presentation, and in a very nutshell, so many beautiful ideas have been worked out and how Nivedita looked at it. And one of the very nice questions that was put forward, that how Nivedita could understand Swami Vivekananda so well. And there were 3 points that were given. I agree to most of the points except one. With that token, maybe we can say a monk can understand it better, a man can understand man better. That not. Scientists have told that we have 2 types of brain, left brain and right brain. And women work with right brain and men work with left brain, and Nivedita had both the brains. And that is why she could ask the question, the time she could understand the emotions. And she had the great privilege of being with him for a long time. In Amarnath, Swami took only Nivedita. So there are various reasons why Nivedita, and she had a very, very inquisitive mind. and a Western rational mind. Along with that, a woman's heart, and that made not accessible. But one thing I tell you, the last day, Swami Vivekananda on 4th July 1902, he meditated for 3 hours in the shrine, old shrine at Birumad, not the new temple. That time no temple was there. And when he was coming downstairs, one of his brother disciples heard, had there been another Vivekananda, he would have understood what this Vivekananda has done. So very difficult for us to understand Vivekananda. Everybody is taking whatever small amount of what we can take from his great infinite ocean of his life, whatever little inspiration we can take and work out 1 or 2 ideas, we are blessed.
Thank you very much. I thank both the speakers for giving us so much insight. I think it's a really very short time to deal with Sister Nivedita's work on Swami Vivekananda and her own ideas of nationalistic movement as well as traditionalism. But it was really, everything is covered, and discussions are also very much with the insight into what kind of work has been done and what should be done. And we can only say that Sister Nivedita has really been a genius and looking into all the spheres of what was happening. And then again, to corroborate Swamiji, I would like to say that think about the background of the time that they were living. And what I had said, you asked about the Aryan reference anywhere. No, Nivedita's, in Sister Nivedita's, you won't get, I don't, so far as I know, there's no such direct evidence, remark about the Aryan inversion theory and other things. But they had laid the foundation for the research of understanding the traditionalism, antiquity, and the value of our own culture. Swami Vivekananda has categorically said that after looking through the cultural diversity of India, Bharat Brahman, that Bharat Darshan, that he had said that categorically said, we don't believe that so much of wealth, so much of beautiful culture, multiplicity of culture has been transplanted from somewhere else, like Central Asia, Caucasus, whatever was the theory at that time. That's the only thing that had been done. But we can say that they were really Mahapurush, Mahanari, who have done such a lot for us, that we are sitting here, we are talking, especially the women, what we are at the present moment, and think about the time of Sister Nivedita, what our grandmothers had been through. So, George, you have the last comment.
Not a last comment. I think a wonderful conversation going on between Professor Three, Professor Mukhopadhyay and Swamiji, Reverend Swamiji. I just wanted to add a small thing. I think Swamiji will clarify me on that. I don't remember exactly what Swamiji said, but I know the idea. On the one hand, Swamiji said what Professor Mukti had just said. On the other hand, Swamiji had once commented, I'm just waiting for the British to arrest me. And if they arrest me, there will be a hue and cry to an order which you like. I mean, he said that to Nivedita. I mean, there will be a hue and cry to an order you will like. But I know they're very intelligent. They'll never do that. They'll never do that. So there are a lot of, so many wonderful shades of Swamiji's dialogue or conversations with Nivedita.
Well, one police officer came, to arrest. Do you know that? One of his friends. And then he had to come out. He just shook him by the hand, never do like that. And he came out of the house. One of his old friends invited for a lunch, and then he said, you are imprisoned. And then he put him by the throat that I can kill you just now, but I am leaving you. And he came out of the house.
Thank you very much for the morning session. It was very